Broadcasting live from the Norman P. Murray Community Center in the heart of downtown Mission Viejo, it's Breakfast with Gary and Kelly, featuring special guest, Tony Guerrero.
Welcome to Breakfast with Gary and Kelly, everybody. We're really glad. Have you been having fun this morning? Did everybody
having a good time?
Did we get enough Tommy Bahama cake?
Who's had cake?
There better be some left over. That's all I have to say. I'm sure there is. I hope. By the way, we're going to be making s'mores on this later on. What the heck? This is
Don't
a very.
touch that.
Don't touch that.
No,
Why?
it's expensive.
Well, then it
It's
can't
gold.
possibly be ours.
It's gold.
There's no way that's ours. What is that? Is that your curling iron, or what is that?
Tony's microphone.
That's Tony's microphone?
Yes.
Tony who? This
Tony Guerrero.
We are very, very excited. A couple of reasons. We are about a month away as we stand here from the 25th annual KSBR birthday bash.
The official 25th annual.
This gentleman has been a part of every single one of them, and he's a dear friend as well as a remarkable musician. We torture him every year with the bash because he's the MD. It's Eagle Fest. He's got to make all these people play nice together.
Yeah, in the sandbox.
Exactly right.
But he does a marvelous job.
He does, and to prove it, he's here today to play for you. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome our friend Tony Guerrero. spending this hour with Tony on Breakfast with
Go,
Gary and Kelly. We'll be right back.
away.
Bravo!
Yeah. Nice
Truly.
jacket.
Hi, Gary.
End of days, isn't it?
I like your
I don't know what
jacket.
you mean by that.
You're on TV
Oh,
with
yeah,
me.
yeah, that is.
Oh, no. All right. I'll be the. Should I sit here and have him over here?
Oh, no.
And it's
no. I think
nice
this
of you
is
to wear a
just
tie,
Are you
too.
sure?
Oh, jeez. Well, sorry, Mike.
I like your jacket. I really
you
do.
very
What
much.
material is this?
I have no idea what material it is, but I think I have to retire it because
Did you
it's
get that
starting to show up in every picture of me.
No, it's really nice. It's like a pleather.
It is kind of like pleather. I don't know what it
Leather.
is.
Well, it's a soft leather. It's pleather.
It's a play on leather. I don't know.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Is that
being
like
here.
the SP in
Thank you.
spam, whatever that stands
could
for? 25 years, Guerrero.
Yep, I'm
That's about
25
how
years
long
Are you
old.
sure? Are you sure?
What's that?
25 years.
You're talking about the bash?
Bash,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have no idea. No, this is what
I
we
meant
know.
your
This
career.
is what we know for sure. Oh, my career. It is 25 years since I put out my first CD as
Okay.
well, which is how I ended up connected with KSBR. Thank you
Yay.
very much.
Okay. And that's the CD Tiara. Is
Yeah.
it Tiara or Tiara?
Tiara.
Tiara.
And
When I first had just released that, I remember I was walking through, I think it was the Orange County Swap Meet, and there was a little jazz station booth there, and there was a DJ there named Kevin Potts, and it was, and I didn't know anything about KSBR, and I walked up to him, I said, hey, I'm Tony, and just put out a CD, and he had me down to the station. It was when the station was in that, I don't know if you were even here then, the
I was not.
little cubby hole in the bottom of the student center.
Oh, the underground thing.
Yeah, the underground
okay,
thing.
I've seen that.
And the very first time I was on KSBR, he was interviewing me. It was kind of late at night, but he was interviewing
It's
me.
Kevin Potts.
And he said, he put on some music. He said, I'm going to go grab a drink. And he ran out to go to the vending machines.
And locked himself out.
Locked himself out. So I had never been on the radio or in a radio station. And suddenly
Welcome to KSBR.
suddenly there's dead air and no Kevin Potts. And I just, after about 30 seconds, 60 seconds, I just started pushing buttons until finally I heard some
And actually,
music.
that's exactly how we do it.
Right. Turned out I was primed for the gig, so.
So did you get the mic button?
Overqualified.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so.
Oh, poor
So that was
Kevin.
25 years ago.
You know what's really funny about that is that Kevin Potts did that same thing. He locked himself out just last week. As a matter of fact, he really did. It's unbelievable.
Maybe it's time he had a key after
No,
25 years.
no. We got to quit letting them in. That's what it is. Some guys just can't take a hit.
God. You guys.
Oh my
So
God.
25 years ago was your CD Tiara.
Yeah.
I have this question.
You were what, 11?
I just turned 11, yes.
That's what I was going to ask you. What age did you decide that you were going to do music?
I decided I wanted to do music when I was roughly in junior high. I was very influenced by my junior high band director, Mark Takeuchi, and he really inspired me, kind of taught me how to love music. And in fact, when I watched that movie, Mr. Holland's Opus, there's a scene where he's with a young clarinet player, and something he tells her sort of opens her eyes, and suddenly she gets it. She gets music, and I got real emotional watching that because that was that was the exact same thing that happened to me under his direction. Was there was just one day where he was teaching us, and the way he described what he wanted from us and the imagery behind music and all this, suddenly it just clicked, and really that's the moment I kind of marked when I decided I wanted to be a musician was that. So.
You had some fun bands going. I know you've stumbled onto some funny pictures too from like
Yeah.
junior high and things. I mean,
I'm very proud of the long mullet hair from the 80s. Yeah.
man.
And,
Oh, my
and
God.
my junior high rock band, I played in a little rock trio and played drums. I was
Yeah,
awful.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
you
it was
played
horrible.
drums.
Yeah, it was awful. But
Have you kept in touch with your music teacher?
We have, yeah. In fact, I saw him just a couple years ago. I was playing up north, and he came out to the show.
And he said, wow, look what I did.
And he said, "Didn't I teach you better?"
Oh,
So, no,
Did you-
it was great.
Did you start off playing the horn?
I did. I started off playing trumpet, and actually, the way my dad's here tonight, and the way that I started playing is I tell the story often because my dad was the one who kind of told me I was playing trumpet. Basically, I was told I got in trouble one day in 4th grade in class, And about 5 minutes later, the music teacher, who I didn't know, she came into the class and said, well, if anybody would like to come with me and learn to play an instrument, come along now. And I'm like, yeah, get me out of here. So I went, and she started asking us which instruments we wanted to play, and I hadn't ever given it any thought. And the first thing that came to mind was drums, and she was showing us pictures. So I said drums, and she showed me a picture of some little bongos, and I thought, well, that's not what I had in mind. So I said, give me a trombone. And again, I don't know why I would have said that. And so somehow she gave me a trumpet, apparently not the greatest music teacher. But
She told you it was a trombone?
well, I asked for a trombone, I had a trumpet, and it wasn't, and so I came home and told them I was playing trombone now, and it wasn't until...
You had a trumpet in your hand, though.
It wasn't until about 3 weeks later when I brought the horn home that my dad corrected me. So
Okay.
by then it was too late.
My God.
Yeah,
That's pretty
so
funny.
that's my inauspicious start to music.
But somehow it seems so appropriate.
But from a trombone, though,
Yeah.
you can play other horns.
From trombone?
I'm sorry, from a
From
trumpet.
Well, you can play some of them. You understand, a lot of instruments sort of carry over into related instruments. Like, because I play trumpet, flugelhorn is a natural instrument,
Right.
cornet is natural. There are also instruments like the euphonium and baritone and different horns that
Wow.
are basically played the same way but require a different technique. The mouthpiece is bigger, and so technically I could pick up a baritone horn and play it. It won't sound that great, but
But the finger stuff.
the fingering stuff would be the same. The general technique is the same. I think that's a saxophone you're describing there, which qualifies you to be my
It's a
elementary
trombone.
school music
It's a
teacher. right there.
trombone.
Hey, I used to play the clarinet in 8th grade, so you know, you just.
What a
did
shame.
Well, there's
you
one
gave that
right
up.
over there, so we can. You didn't cook.
I
We can
wasn't
certainly.
I kept breaking the reeds.
Yeah, that happens.
Oh,
it
man,
happens
that
when you chew on them. Yeah.
Couldn't help it.
So talk about. Let's walk us through the first CD.
The first CD, you know, I was a kid. I was maybe 18 and had a band with some friends of mine from school, and we got the interest of a local guy who wanted to start a record label, and you know, frankly, he didn't really know what he was doing. We didn't know what we were doing, but he wanted to do a record.
Perfect marriage.
It was yeah, you can see this is a pattern in my career here, not knowing what I'm doing.
And here you are sitting
Yeah,
with me.
yeah, right. I think the judgment would have come at some point. So anyways, you know, we ended up signing this thing, and this little agreement to do a CD, and he basically just threw me into a studio, and I knew nothing about being in the studio or producing a record, and it was, while it was a lot of
Kid
fun.
with a trombone.
Yeah. I really had no idea what I was doing, and I just ended up recording music that was in my head, and I didn't expect much out of it. I mean, I had no real designs on putting out records, and it wasn't until they actually released it and it started getting airplay. And specifically, one song really took off in Chicago and still gets played there today for some reason. And it's and I remember one day walking into Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard, and I saw, because of my last name, how you spell my last name, I saw my name, my CD in there, right in between Dave Grusin and Herbie Hancock.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, I better start taking this really seriously. So, yeah, so that, you know, to
Did
be
you
honest,
take a
I don't
picture?
really like listening to that first album. Does that?
That's amazing seeing that right there.
Yeah, it was.
Did you hear yourself on the radio too?
I did. I heard myself on the radio, and for about 30 minutes, I had my own radio show on KSBR.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
But yeah, I started hearing myself.
Who plays on that first CD with you?
You know, it was a lot of college buddies, but I did get some guest artists on it. Phil Kagi, one of the greatest guitar players ever, agreed to play on it. Grant Geisman, who was certainly a hero of mine because I grew up listening to Chuck Mangione. Max Bennett, of course, we all know Max. And in fact, I recorded one of Max's songs on that album.
How did you meet Max?
I had been, he played a lot locally. We both played at a club called Cafe Lido in Newport Beach back then. And I used to follow his band around, you know, just even years before that, like starting right when I got out of high school, and I heard he was a guy I should check out. And so I just got to know him through that a little bit, and he agreed to play on the record and let me record his song. We had Mary Clayton sang it, who was the original, she's the one who sang backups on the Rolling Stones' Honky Tonk Woman. She was a former Ray Charles Ray lad, and she was also the original, what's the Queen or something from Tommy, from The Who's Tommy.
Oh,
the
okay.
Acid
Yeah, I
Queen
know
or
what you
something like
mean.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So anyway, so
That's
it
pretty
was, yeah, it was pretty heady being able to hang out with them, all those people. And
When did you discover your voice? Because I know you're not going to sing today, but I know you do sing.
my singing voice?
Your Louis Armstrong.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on.
I don't know what you're talking
When did that come out?
Oh, that's just, honestly, I just started doing that for fun, and really I would only do it just when I was in the mood to do it and just having a good time, and it sort of becomes something I have to turn down requests for, like today with you.
And he won't sing.
So it's, you know, it's something I enjoy doing. To be honest, it's, I'm such a huge Louis Armstrong fan. I don't really sound like anything like him. To
To
put
me
us
you do.
next to each other, there's a world of difference, obviously.
Well.
But it's fun, and I
Yeah.
think, you
You've
know.
got quite a collection of Louis Armstrong memorabilia.
I do. I think I was told once by the Louis Armstrong archives that I have the largest personal collection on the West Coast. That there's some people who knew Louis and who have collections back east that are pretty big. So, but it was.
So how did
fun.
you start? I mean, you were just doing it as a fun thing, but how did it? You having a couple of beers with the guys, and all of a sudden you went. I mean, what? I don't know. I hurt my throat if I.
I
do
believe
that.
maybe she should be
No, so
performing.
But how did you Did you just come out and do it?
I don't
and
know.
go, oh wow, look
I
at
just
that.
tried it. And, you know,
You
to be,
sang a whole song.
to be honest, I honestly cannot sing a song on key at all unless I'm doing that voice.
Well.
And I barely on key that way. But that's the only way I can sing. I can't sing any other way.
I remember well the first time I heard you do that.
Yeah.
Because in fact, it was on the air. We were doing a thing from some shopping center. and
Oh,
you
that's
were-
right.
Is that
And I
Ocean
mean, I
Ranch?
was doing something and I heard that and I was like,
Was that Ocean Ranch?
no, it wasn't. But boy, that was a fun thing. Oh my
Yeah.
God, the
'Cause I was
nonsense
at
we've
Ocean
gotten
Yeah, we've
into
done a
over
lot
the
of
years.
stuff over the years.
We have. We really have. Oh man, the talk about Max, and I mean, you know, you ran into him I mean, you had to be a young kid when you first were,
Yeah.
you know, stumbled into him. I mean, did you know who he was and what his background was? And
I learned really quickly. I don't remember specifically if I knew about him, but I certainly learned a lot about him early on and what a legend he is in the business. And you know, especially to musicians, we sort of have this elevated view of musicians who were a big part of the studio scene back in the 50s
Yeah.
and 60s, and he was one of the most recorded bass players around. And he took me out once. We were talking about those old days, and he told me they used to have contests to see who could fit the most sessions into a day. And at the end of the day, all the musicians would meet up for drinks, and whoever had the most sessions had to buy drinks for everybody else, you know. And but yeah, I mean, he was everything from played with Charlie Parker and Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald and Stan Kenton's band and on up to Tom Scott and Joni Mitchell and all the TV shows and movies that he did.
Yeah.
He was the bass on the Partridge Family. I mean, you know, that's quite a career.
He was
that guy.
Danny
it really is.
Bonaduce.
He was Danny Bonaduce.
Tell me, when did you get involved? I mean, you know, you had the drum thing going, the kind of rock deal. But
Right.
when did you get steered over towards the jazz? I mean, was that just kind of a natural thing
Well,
your ear picked up on? or-
I was playing trumpet when I was 9. I started in elementary school. Up through junior high, I didn't really have a lot of interest in it. It wasn't until I liked music, but I was really way more into rock. You know, specifically like
Yeah.
Kiss and Led Zeppelin and all the stuff that was big in the late
Yeah, for
70s.
sure.
And I started doing this little rock band, and it wasn't. It was that same teacher who started a little jazz program. And he brought in a tune from Chuck Mangione called Children of Sanchez, which was the first time I had ever heard a connection between this horn that was playing, you know, school band music and kind of a rock, you know, loud rock rhythm thing that Chuck was doing. And it was that connection that sort of brought me into jazz, and at that time specifically Chuck, but from him, learning about the people who influenced him, like Dizzy Gillespie and Art Farmer and all those, and
Yeah.
so kind of working my way backwards from his music.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it was really my love of rock and, you know, finally figuring out how to play rock influenced music on
Yeah.
my horn. So
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
Were
Tony.
you in the band at all? The
I was
marching
in
band?
all the bands. And
You were in the marching
I
band?
was in marching band, yeah. I
Really?
didn't do that.
That, of course, is that's the international symbol for marching band. You go to any country, no matter what language, and you do that, and they'll
Marching
go,
band.
run for your life, it's a marching band.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Tony Guerrero is our guest. We're going to take a break and come back, and he's going to be joined by the other guy,
Greg Vale.
Greg Vale, here on Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. Welcome back to Breakfast with Gary and Kelly, everybody. Tony Guerrero is here. This is Kelly. We didn't really say anything, but Greg Vale is here, too. Hey, Greggy. How are you, pal? It's so good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Love being here.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. We're going to be chatting with Greg, and he just kind of comes, you're joined at the
Greg
hip.
and I have met years and years ago, and maybe if we get a chance, I'll tell a great Greg Vale story.
Oh, goody.
Well, it's about time. All right. Well, what are you going to play?
Yes.
I'm going to play a couple tunes from the Blue Room CD, which was my latest release, and these are both songs I didn't write, but they're songs I love playing, and you may recognize them. The first one is called Black Orpheus.
Very nice. Oh, yeah. Tony Guerrero here on Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. Oh, you're going to grab the other trombone now, huh?
I brought both trombones.
Now, that's a flugelhorn?
That's a flugelhorn. This is a trumpet.
Ah,
Yeah.
gotcha. Where's the
Neither
trombone?
one, neither one are trombones. Yeah.
Would it have killed you to bring a trombone, really? All right, what are we going to hear?
This is one of my favorite ballads of all time, and hopefully the band won't cut me off this time. This is called "Over the Rainbow."
Oh, nice. Tony
One of
Guerrero.
my favorites. Yay.
great. That was great. Tony Guerrero. We're going to take a break, come back, and spend some more time with him. Stick around here at Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. That was beautiful, man. Nice. Welcome back to Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. I was just explaining to Tony that really the key, here's a little tip for you kids at home that want to have your own shows. The key to a good show is really copious notes. You got to have extensive background notes.
A lot of research went into
That's
this.
right. That's Tony. What was that last name again? Let me get that down.
Truth
Say
is,
hi.
Truth is, I can't even pronounce my own name correctly. So,
Is that right?
yeah,
well,
yeah.
is there anyone here that can do that? How about your dad?
My
Can
dad
your dad do
probably
it?
can do it,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go. There you go. Greg Bale is here.
Yay.
Dude.
Everybody, Greg Bale.
So good to see you, man. So good to see you. Holy mackerel.
Now,
we've
how
been
did
doing
you
this.
two meet?
We met in the summer of 1984. We were asked by a...
Sounds like a movie.
I know.
It
We
does,
were,
really a bad
There's
one.
a beautiful theme that goes with that. There's a friend of ours who has passed on, but he used to lead the music for a dinner theater down in San Clemente. And he asked us to come do, we didn't know each other, but he asked us both separately to come and play in this little show. It was my first professional gig after high school. Greg, and so we met, we were introduced and then spent the next 8 hours together, closer than this, like shoulder to shoulder in a little pit orchestra, playing over the music for the show Kismet. Oh. Like I said, I had just gotten out of high school. Greg had just graduated college, which means he's a little older than me. And I will say that Greg and I, our start was that he was not crazy about the fact that he had just graduated college and yet he was doing the same gig as this punk kid from out of high school.
that I had to drive to the gig. because
Well,
I
and that's the
didn't
other
have
thing.
a car.
I didn't have a car, so Greg. This is how Greg got
Did you
back at
drive
me.
him?
Yeah, he would pick me up, and then every night at the show, he would record. He would set a tape recorder down, and then on the way home, he would force me to listen to my performance, and then point out all the things I messed up.
What a good teacher
And we've been
you
great
are.
friends ever since.
Yes. Closer than brothers.
That's funny. Oh,
So-
man.
Fun.
What was your first bash, Greg?
I don't. I mean, if we can't figure out what the 25th is,
Well, there's
how am I
that,
supposed
too.
to remember when?
I think we're working on dates on.
I would say his first would have to be the third, probably the third, because the first two were different than what we did. They didn't start off as the all-star
Well,
thing.
explain how you got involved. I mean, how did this whole bash?
Well, again, I was new to the station, but I was a local guy. So when it came time to do, KSBR was doing a
Membership drive.
a membership drive, and they wanted to do a little thing in a room maybe half this size, and asked if I would come and play. And so I brought my band, and a little band called Joy Spring came out and played, and then. So we did that. The next year, Max Bennett's band played, and my band,
Well,
and Minimum 3, which
Wasn't
is
it at the
Dana Point Resort, yeah.
and Didn't all of a sudden, didn't one of the DJs say on air, hey, we're down at just to play?
I have no idea.
I think it was something like, just come on down, we're
Yeah.
going to be playing, and all of a sudden all these.
Well, no, my manager at the time, Lucille Hunt, by the third year, we started inviting some guests. We had Jeff Cashua and Brandon Fields come and play with my band. And maybe two others, I'm not sure, probably Greg at the
And
time.
I
Well,
think
Greg actually was probably with my band by that time.
And I think some of the DJs were saying, hey, after our membership bash, our membership drive, we're all going to go down to the resort and listen to
Right.
Tony's band.
Yeah, and then little by
people
little, we just kept adding, and really, Lucille Hunt is the one to credit with turning the bash into what
Yeah.
it became, because she would be all the work that your whole committee does now, she would do by herself back in those days. I mean,
wow.
it was a little smaller of an event, but it grew pretty big under
Pretty
her.
quickly.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
quick. So by the fourth year, at least third or fourth year, we were pretty close to what we are now in terms of what was on stage. So
Well, I remember when the year that Lucille said she didn't have time to do it anymore.
right, that's right.
And Terry called me and said, hey, can you help maybe pull? And here, Lucille gave us her notes.
Yeah.
And it was like this pile of garbage paper. It was all these little scribbles and
Right.
scraps. Okay, that's good. But,
Yeah.
Oh man, good stuff.
So-
Boy, there've been some great moments, though, haven't there?
There have been some great moments at the bash for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it was a fun run. I mean, it was great at the resort. I mean, that setting was beautiful. You know,
Overlooking
the
the
ocean
ocean.
background. Yeah, yeah. There was some fun. You
The
know?
nice thing is we have outgrown each of the venues we've been at, so
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah.
And doing it where we're at now allows for a lot more people, which is great, which is what it's all about, getting people there and fundraising. And
all that. So
What was one of your favorite moments? Can you pinpoint one?
I really have a lot. I loved playing with Joe Sample because he was an early hero of mine. As a horn player for both, I'm sure Greg would agree with this, Tom Scott is a big hero. And one of my favorite moment with Tom Scott was that not only was he there at the bash and we got to play with him, but while we were playing, he was walking around taking our pictures, and I thought that was really cool. So
He was on the ground in front of us, and Tony's like, Tom Scott taking our picture. And I'm like,
While you're up on stage.
yeah, he was like down low. You know.
That was so fun.
then I went to his house and my pictures plastered everywhere. It's a little creepy.
Well, it's like my house, really. So that was the year. That was Max's 80th birthday. That was
Yes,
also the
that's
year.
right.
That's why Tom was there, and that was also the year that Joni Mitchell sent flowers to give to Max on stage. Remember that for his birthday?
70th birthday. Wasn't that his 70th or 75th? Maybe.
Oh, maybe it was the 75th.
Yeah.
That would
Get
make
the
more
calculator
sense.
out again.
But it was.
I just know he's not 90 now. So
Yeah,
you know,
right. Well,
that
that's
was about
true
10
too. That's
years
true
ago,
too.
so.
Boy, unbelievable, unbelievable. Talk about some of the folks that you've hooked up with, Greg. I remember you calling me, you know, after you got hooked up and were playing with Greg Adams, doing some Tower Power gigs. It was like that would never happen.
Yeah, you called me and said, I just gave your phone number to Greg Adams. I'm like, cool. You know, I didn't know it was to play with his band. And actually, just 2 weeks ago, I got the regular spot replacing Michael Paulo.
Oh, is that
so this many years later, it still goes on.
Good for you.
Sweet.
Good for you. Well,
Sweet. Well, there's been a lot of relationships made at the bash.
Yeah, I could name a nice long list of musicians who have met there and have gone on to do a lot of things together.
Yeah, so it's like a cornucopia.
And you know, the musicians look forward to it, and for those of you who may not really know how it works, it's different than any other jazz festival you might go to, because usually you go to a jazz festival and while these artists may see each other backstage, they're all there with their own band.
Yeah.
The difference is everybody comes here by themselves and plays with all these musicians that they may not have ever met before. Nobody's looked at the music ahead of time. I mean, it's really a kind of an almost organized free-for-all. So.
And how is that,
exactly.
you being the music director, how is that coordinating all of that? Because you've got to get somebody on drums, somebody on keyboard, somebody on bass, somebody on...
I've gotten a good system down, so
Yeah?
I'm able to do it. The
How do you do it?
problem is I really can't do it until the morning of.
Okay.
So
what do you do when you like, okay,
It's pretty much sophisticated blackmail, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of is.
How do you team one artist with another? What do you look
Well,
for?
I try to encourage the artists to let me know ahead of time if there are people that will be at the bash that already know their music.
Okay.
But part of that is, you know, if for example, if 10 artists requested Greg, I'd have to say no to some because I'd have to allow for other sax players to, you know,
Right.
share the stage too. Don't worry, that's never happened.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's... So I have to.
Or let's say we have a big, huge
Closer than
star that shows up.
So I
Okay.
have to try to honor as many of those requests as I can, but also give all the artists there as equal stage time as possible.
So let's say a huge star shows up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like a really big A-lister. Somebody that we all know.
Like Evan Stone.
I mean, you know, it could be anything, like a Boss Skaggs or a Diana Krall
Right.
or a Stevie Wonder, something like that. How do you fit? I mean, who are you going to pick to play in that set?
Well, there's, you know,
Because everybody's going to want to play.
right. There's definitely
right?
going to be musicians that the ones that I know what their skill sets are, because there are great players who play very differently, and so
Okay.
the person I might put with Stevie Wonder might be different than the person I'd put with a Boz Skaggs,
Okay.
so to speak. So if I already know those players well, then that's not too difficult to do.
Now, I'm not saying they're coming to the bash. I'm just saying that was just that was a for instance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's start naming some of the people that can't do the bash because they don't read music very well.
Right.
Riders.
But you have to read music, though, right?
You really should be able to read music, yeah.
It helps.
It helps a lot.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of musicians out there that don't.
You're right, there are, and we've had a couple of them come, and they really can only do their song, or maybe
Yeah.
a jam tune, or something they
I
might already
remember
know.
a
But
couple of them say, "Do you have a CD that I can listen to some of the music?"
Yeah.
And then I'll
Well, there's
pick
a
it
lot
up.
of that today. I have to tell you, I think it's amazing how few train wrecks have been up there musically. I mean,
Yeah.
really, very, very few. I mean, it's fun.
yeah, if you were to average out the number of 25 years, about 22 songs per bash,
Yeah.
and average that out, I can really only think back to maybe 3 or 4 real big train wrecks. So
And we won't talk about those, will we?
no.
Let's talk about the good stuff.
Yeah.
So it to me is amazing how big this thing has gotten, though.
It's great.
You know, I mean,
I feel very privileged to be a part of it at all, and still after all these years. Too. And I will say, I myself, Evan Stone, whom you mentioned, and Terry Waddell, I believe, are the only people I can think of who have been to all of them, all 25.
Wow.
So
All
You know,
25.
you've also brought in, and this kind of goes beyond the bash too, but you have really mentored so many young musicians that have gone on to some great stuff. And, you know, I mean, well, Evan and Gannon, when they started, were very young.
I met them here at KSBR, actually. They had their little band, Minimum 3, and they had their cassette tape here at the station. And in fact, it was that night with Kevin Potts, and there was a stack of like 20 of the Minimum 3 cassettes. And he said, why don't you take a few of those to record over if you need cassettes? So, no, it's all right.
Harsh reality.
And, you know, it's just a lesson learned. Don't send 25 cassettes to a radio station. They don't need them.
And nowadays they have nothing to play them on.
Right,
so.
right. But that's what, and then I've known them a long time, and they've become very dear friends. I just did a session for Evan this week, and Gannon may be here already. We're leaving from here to do a show together in Palm Springs, and Gannon just got off the road with Joe Walsh this week, just got back yesterday, and he and I both play with John Tesh in his band, and so good relationships.
Very nice. And really, how has it worked out for you to be known as the darling of the jazz community?
I wasn't thrilled with that moniker.
I thought it was cute.
It's bad enough my first album named
Stuck
Tiara.
of the jazz community.
But your first CD was called Tiara.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know.
see,
It was,
So do
it's
you want to
all
explain
the-
that one?
it was the 80s. It would take a long time to explain. It was a little less feminine.
Oh, we
at the
got time. Go ahead. I want to hear this one.
I'm not sure I remember all the details.
But it's not about the tiara, though, right? It was something else.
No, it was something else. It's a long story.
All right, we'll cut you some slack. Well, we're going to take a break and come back, and we want another song. We're going to demand another song. So,
All right.
All right. If we could do that, stick
And-
around here. Tony Guerrero with Greg Vale. And Breakfast is there in Kelly. Welcome back to Breakfast is Gary and Kelly, everybody. We're glad you're here. We're really glad that Tony Guerrero and Greg Vale are here with us, and we'll also be back on our stage on May 26th for the
Don't
25th
forget.
annual birthday bash.
And if you haven't gotten your tickets, ksbr.org,
That's the one.
hit the bash button. You can get your tickets.
Hit your
to
bash
see.
button, ladies and gentlemen.
It's-
If there's
get the-
one thing we want to leave you with today, it's hit your darn bash
Yes,
button.
and you
know what
can
I'm
see
saying?
these gentlemen on stage on May 26th.
Exactly.
So
What are you going to do?
What's up?
I'm gonna play a song. I'm gonna play a song from the Passionato CD. This is called Fire Dance.
Nice, all right.
Tony Guerrero here.
No fire dancers. Woo!
stuff. Great stuff. Great stuff. Tony Guerrero, Greg Vale. Thanks very much, you guys. Really great to see you. They'll be on the stage May 26th for the birthday bash. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on Breakfast with Gary and Kelly.
Go to KSBR.